Bundy's Garage, Bundy here. I'm with Darren Carlson, the owner of Direct Truck and Auto Repair in San Bernardino, California. This is a follow-up video to the video that we did, I think it's been a year almost since I interviewed you first time. So, like always, I'm going to break this up into a lot of smaller videos, but in the description below, I will put the topics that we're talking about so you guys can jump ahead if you want. What has your journey been with ATI?
It's been good. They've been good to us. I mean, me and my wife were talking about that the other day. That's kind of a long story too, so I'll try to make it brief. I don't know how many years ago we thought we would easily weather the recession. We had pretty good money set aside, and we thought, we'll just keep all the tow trucks, keep doing our repair, we won't lay anybody off, and we can make it, whatever. So the first year came, we lost tons of cash, and I'm like, no, I'm not selling off any assets. We're going to keep going. Like when everybody's dead, we'll still be alive, when the economy comes back around. So it had gotten so bad. I mean, it just got worse and worse. So finally we had to lay some people off, and we had to sell some trucks, and it was just getting worse and worse. And my wife came to me one day and she says, we're out of money. There's nothing left. So I'm working like crazy. I remember one time going in on a Saturday by myself because I couldn't afford anybody to come in, the mechanics. And I said, does it matter how hard I work? Does it matter? Because it seems like no matter what I do, we can't make enough money. Mm-hmm. Like say our magic number back then was $85,000. $85,000 was to cover, for the month. Right. And we'd make $84,000 in the hole. You know what I mean? And we get caught up, and then we go back, and it was just horrible. And I remember one day she's like, we can't keep doing this. We're going to lose everything. So she said, I want to go to this seminar, a place called ATI. I said, what does it cost? She says, like, I don't know, $500, I don't know, $200, whatever. I said, tell me how we can possibly afford that. She goes, I don't know, but I'm going. And I said, no. And I said, because I wouldn't want her to go without me. And so I said, well, we got church on Sunday. She said, yeah. She goes, I'm going to go after church. So it's, like 2 o'clock on. I said, well, you're not going by yourself. So I went with her. We write them the checks, money we don't even have. I mean, obviously the check was good, but money we don't even have. And the guy said, are you interested? And she's like, yeah, we're interested. And I thought, we're not interested. You know what I mean? And so.
Not buying it.
Yeah, he said, I'll come by because you submit your financials. Your last month's financials or whatever. I think it's a monthly financial thing.
So is this like a seminar? I mean, like a introductory seminar kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so there's a bunch of shop owners there, whatever, and see whatever. And so the guy says, would you like me to stop by your shop? And she says, yeah. And I'm thinking, I don't want this guy there, So he shows up on a Monday, and he takes a look at some things like that, and he comes to me and he says, because he was a shop owner too, and he says, you do too much heavy line work. And I just look at him, how could you possibly know that? He said, because your parts prices are real high, and I looked at your labor, and you do a lot of heavy line work. And I'm like, you're right. We do a lot of engines, a lot of transmissions, a lot of big ticket deals. He said, do you ever notice, though, you can make the ticket total can be really high, but how much do you get to keep? Where's your profit margin? He goes, how much money do you ever lose on a brake job? He says, I'm not saying throw away the high, that kind of work.
Bring it down.
But you need to spread it around. You can't have too much of that work. It'll bankrupt your shop. So I told my wife, I said, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like when we talked together, I said, this guy knows. He knows something I don't know. And so we agreed to sign on with him, and it was expensive. It was 2.5 years, and I think it was $2,000 a year or something. I think by the end of the 2.5 years, you pay $50,000. So when you sign the contract, I said, this is great, but I can't even pay my vendors right now. And back then we were COD with people. We had lost all of our credit with our vendors. I mean, since all that stuff is back, we have our full credit lines. We actually have bigger credit lines than we did before, but it was dark. But we had nowhere to go with it. And so, so what it is so you're submitting these numbers through this portal of your weekly numbers. Mm-hmm. And you have a coach that sits down once a week. It's on a, telephone, so he can look at the numbers, and he's moving the mouse, and he's showing you all the stuff. And so we went back there, and we went to a new owners meeting, and it was money we didn't have either. We went back to friggin' Maryland, plane tickets and hotel room and whatever, and just sat around and got to talk to some people that were shop owners. Some people were coming back for the second time. Some people were in the program. Some people were starving just like we were. And so, you're looking for answers. And so my coach kept telling me that I needed to make certain changes. And I really didn't want to listen. I didn't like what he was telling me, and he just kept on me. And he said, Darren, isn't it kind of crazy that you pay us every month, whatever, the fee you pay us, and I'm giving you this advice and you're not even trying to make the changes I'm asking you? He goes, why can't you just make some of the changes I'm asking you to make, and then If it doesn't work, move it back the way you had it. Just move it back exactly the way you had it. And I thought, okay. And I can remember telling Jimmy, you know, we go to the same church, and I remember telling him, if God so chose, Jimmy, because this is a big place. There were times we could play a football game out there. I mean, the yard was bare. I mean, we got a nice shop. I mean, a big yard, concrete. Turn on the lights at night, we play a baseball game, or, you know, I mean, we had plenty of room. We could play frisbee, we could do whatever. I said, you know, if God so chose, he'd fill up our yard, and people would be waiting. There'd be a line, you know what I mean? We wouldn't be able to get it all done. We just couldn't. I just don't understand why God won't do that right now. Like, why won't he just turn on the faucet? You know what I mean? And people would start showing up. And I was super stubborn. And I think when things started to change was the day that I decided that I was going to take advice from someone. Because I could always figure it out. I've been doing this for a long time. I just work harder or try something different or whatever, and it would work. But no matter what I tried before we hired ATI, I could not fix this. No matter how hard I tried, I could not make enough money to pay the bills. And so,
what were some of the key things they told you to do as a shop owner?
What he wanted me to teach, one of the main things he wanted is for me to lock my toolbox. And not, because what I would do all the time is I'd sit in the office, I would do my stuff, and then when I would hate it, I would go, I got to go help the guys. So I would pick a truck, pull it in my bay, go get my tools, and I would find peace because I love working on the stuff. And I would, in my mind, tell myself, well, if we're charging $85, I think back then we were charging $85 an hour. Well, if I work 10 hours for $85, I'm bringing the company in $850. But see, nobody's looking at this end, you know? And so what he was saying is you gotta know these numbers, which was the same advice my cousin who owns a very successful plumbing company is like, you gotta know the numbers, you gotta know where you're at. And so they started preaching stuff like that, and he's like, look, your margins need to be here. And I said, you don't understand. You guys are running a truck. What you guys are professionals at is small truck or light truck and car. Those same parameters don't apply to me. He goes, I understand they don't apply completely, but they still apply. Like when they're talking about the markup, like putting a price matrix together. So these low dollar prices, you're charging more for the part. And then, you know, the medium price, you're charging this. And then for the more expensive, you're charging this. But he was constantly, every week, he's like, you got to get your parts margin up. You got to get it up. And I'm thinking, you know, because if you grow up old, right? If you grow up and you remember when a starter costs $50 and you can put it in for 20 or whatever, right? Well, that starter should be $70. I'm just saying, like, remember whatever the money is for you. For me, $20 used to be a lot of money, right? So you have this conceived idea of what something should cost, and I did. And he's like, quit trying to figure out what you think it should cost and just put in the computer, because we had all the programs we needed. Yeah. Just put what the box tells you it says. You know what I mean? Just let that be. Let that be whatever, you know, whatever it says it should be. Just let it be that, and don't discount it. Quit discounting it. You know what I mean? I go, hey, I didn't have a chance to review so-and-so. And she goes, oh, I already emailed it. And I'm like, oh no. So I looked at it, I'm like, oh my God, those prices are way too high. We're never gonna get this job. And so then she's concerned because she thinks I'm mad at her. And I'm sitting here kind of fuming a little bit. And then she says to me about 5 minutes later, she goes, hey, I just got an email back, approved. And I'm like, okay. And what they try to explain to me is I can't charge what somebody down the street charges. In other words, if this guy owns his dirt and he owns, you know, I mean, he can charge less. Or he may not have bills that you have. He may not have this. You need to figure out what you need to make, and we're going to help you come up with that price of what you need to make. And believe me, I'm not rich. I live in a track home. You've seen my cars. They're decent. I mean, I got some cool cars, but I'm making it sound like I have multiple cars. But, you know, my wife drives a nice car. I do. But, you know, I live in a track home. We're not rich. But we're able to pay our bills. And so it was just that. So right now we're at a crossroads because after we finished the 2.5 years.
Are you done now? Is it over?
What we stayed on as a, what do you call that? When you graduate from a college and you are an alumni. So we stayed on, so it was $900 a month. So we've been staying on, and me and my wife were talking about that, like when she told him she wanted to quit, he sent back an email that was like, oh, I'm very disappointed to hear that, and blah, 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 and, you know, like notes of have we accomplished these things. Because I think we've been one of their better accounts, like when it shows, like they'll show you where you rank in ATI. Certain things I can never rank high because I'm a truck shop, heavy truck shop. Mm-hmm. Never can. But there's some places I'm like, out of 600 or 700 companies, I'm like top 6 in a category, and you know what I mean? Like, and he's helped us do that. And so we were talking to my wife, because she's very diligent and stuff. I said, will you continue to put in the numbers without him there? because that's key, is to put the numbers in every week.
Okay.
How many hours your guys have? What was total sales for the week? What was the car count? Car truck count. So I think it ended up being a very good thing for us. I think we can stay on, and I think he taught me what I needed to know. But what I really think changed is, one, I never worked at another shop before. I never knew what the inner workings were. I was just a guy who could fix stuff.
Okay.
So say if I worked at another shop and I saw how they did it, then I'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool what they do, but I don't like that part. That's dishonest, that's honest, that's this, that. But I never did. I mean, in anything I ever did. I mean, the first tow truck I ever bought, I'd never driven a tow truck in my life. I bought a brand new tow truck, right? And when we started repairing stuff, people would say, hey, can you fix my truck? And I'd look at it and go, well, I'm sure I can fix it. I had no idea. I mean, I knew I could fix their truck, but I didn't know what to charge them. I didn't know any of those things. So I didn't have any of that background. So I think they helped them. But I think what really, and for people who aren't spiritual or don't believe in God, I hope this isn't offensive to them, but I think when I got humble, when I humbled out and said, I can't do this, God, because I always thought I was the smartest guy on the planet. There was nothing I couldn't do. Anything that happened to me that was good, my fault. Anything bad that happened to me, my fault. I took my lumps and I didn't care. But I think when I humbled out and said, I can't do this, I need help, somehow I believe God blessed that. So yeah, I think part of it was ATI, but part of it is the mindset of going, you don't know everything.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So they gave you that knowledge that you may not have had of the back end and the inner
right.
workings on the office, parts, matrix.
And I didn't even want to know it. And imagine this guy's trying to help you, and he's even explaining to you, you're paying us every month. And I'm giving you these things that you should be doing.
You wouldn't even do it.
And next week I call you and I'm like, hey, did you implement this? No.
Nope.
Right. And he even told me, he goes, with the girls that work in the front, I mean, these girls are the best customer service people I've ever seen. Bertha, I don't know where she came from, but I think she worked in some office. She understands phone skills. She understands talking to the customer, and she rocks. I think Helen was like a general manager of a Jack in the Box. I know she worked there and she was in upper management. She understands customer service. I mean, to work fast food like that is really, really difficult. They're the best, right? But what he told me is, he goes, you have to give it to them. They're going to make mistakes.
Trust it to them.
They're going to make mistakes, and you're going to have to pay for them. And you're going to have to
You would recommend it to another shop owner, somebody on a guy out there, kind of like you, a shop owner, on the fence about it. Should I do this?
I would say yes. I would say yes, because there's no way I thought I was ever going to be able to pay him. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I couldn't even pay my bills. How am I going to pay an extra $2,000 a month? But here's the thing: listen early, not late. Like, you know what I mean? When they start teaching you stuff and telling you stuff, listen and make those changes early, because how much longer did I prolong the process because I was too stubborn? Because you know what I'd say? As soon as you get off the phone with us in the conference call, I'd be like that crap's never going to work. I'm different. I got a different situation here. You know what I mean? You don't know who I am. You don't know what I'm capable of, right?
You understand my life?
Exactly.
You don't know me?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm the man.
Dog?
Yeah, you've never walked in my shoes, bro. You know?
You've never been here?
Right.
Hello, Darren.
Right. I'm special.
How long was it when you started, before you actually started listening to their advice? You're talking a 4-month lead time, 6 months?
You know, I'm so bad with time. I am, John, but I mean, it was months.
Maybe 6 months. 6 months you fighted it?
Maybe. And even still to this day, he'll tell me, look, your profit margin, he goes, look, in this month and this month and this month, your your parts margin was here. This is how many points you're at. This is where you really need to be. But now I've looked and it's dropped. Why did it drop? And I know that there was quite a few big invoices that I went in there and I reduced them because I felt like they were too high. And so he's like, if you need it to make these numbers that you need to make, this is what you have to do. And like helped us understand just so many things. Like he made us put lists together, like what are your computer costs per year to upgrade all the scanners and all the stuff and all the software and all that, put that together. Now put this and this and this together. You know what I mean? And then how much do you pay for bank charges? You know, like when we run credit cards and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's probably like $2,000 or $3,000 a month that we spend just in running people's credit cards. That's what we get charged. Well, that's a fee. So if somebody paid you in a check or a cash, you're not paying that. So you start tagging that, and then he figures out the jobs we do, and he's like, this is how much more you should be charging per ticket to recoup these costs. You don't look at stuff like that.
All the little stuff.
Well, because like in California, you can't put anything down as miscellaneous. Like you cannot put, it's illegal in California to put shop supplies. You can't charge people for shop supplies. You have to charge them for every single thing. You can't charge them for a shop towel. You can charge them for, like, you can't just put hardware or something. You got to list the nuts and bolts. You know what I mean? You have to list everything. And so it's like you have to put that stuff on your invoice. Like, we have to clean certain things, and we get hit hard for the recycled water, greasy, oily water. We weren't charging for that. We're getting hit every month for $900 in recycled water fees.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And that was
environmental fees.
Okay, so he had gone through and he had looked at just, like just different numbers of things like, you have your fixed cost. So, I'm on salary. I don't get paid any more, any less. Doesn't matter how many hours I work. My wife too. Obviously the employees, they get paid based on, the hours they work. But, your fixed costs, like your rent and all that other stuff, stays. But then things change to fixed cost. Like fixed costs, like say you buy another laptop or there's another support item or whatever. Okay. So now that's a fixed cost, and that starts to go up. Or we hired a guy to do outside sales, so that the fixed cost goes up again. So he's constantly looking at those things from ATI and goes, okay, so we're at the end of this year, so your fixed cost is moved up to here. You know what I mean? And kind of here's your numbers. Where do you see yourself? So it helps us forecast for the next year. Where do you want to be? How much money would you like to make? When do you want to be able to retire? Certain things like that. So if you're
they're looking 5 years, 10 years down the road.
I can't see me being out of here in 10 years. I need something to do. But yeah, just trying to help you understand that. So if you're a young shop owner, I think it is. I think so many of us are gifted with the ability to fix stuff. We just have mechanical minds. And there's probably a lot of guys that are like me, just a younger version. Get some help. Just because you're really smart, you know how to fix a diesel engine like nobody can do, doesn't mean you're a good businessman. I told you, all the time, how many times you ever told me this? I'm a horrible businessman. I'm just not good at it. I just like fixing stuff,
So if you need help, get it. And ATI is definitely a company
they were
partnering with that can help somebody.
They were good to us, but you must be humble. You have to lay yourself there and go, help me. And you have to listen. Don't be stubborn like I was.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
Darren, thank you.
Thanks, John.
As always.